So what was my 5'3" black behind doing in Albania? Let's get into it. Hey guys, my name is Makayla, hence the name of my channel, and I do fashion and travel content. Y'all already know this spiel. If not, go ahead and make sure that you subscribe. If you do not subscribe, then your life is going to be sad because this is literally the best place to be. Also, make sure to like this video and share with a friend. If they like traveling, if they don't like traveling, just share with a friend because it's the best place to be on the internet. So we're going to be talking about why I chose to travel to Albania. Not why I chose to travel to Albania, but my experience traveling to Albania as a black female solo traveler. So first we're going to talk about why I chose Albania. I told myself that I wanted to visit all 50 states. And so I was like, okay, if I want to visit all 50 states, let me go to all the states in alphabetical order. But then I'm like, I have a passport to travel out the country. Why am I not using it? So then I came up with the idea to travel to countries and states in alphabetical order. But then I'm like, how am I going to counterbalance the two? And then I was like, okay, well, I can visit a state and then a country and just switch back and forth. So as you guys know, I went in March, although the vlog came out way later, but in March I went to Alaska, and then of course June I went to Albania. So I'm trying to do every 3 months I just travel. You know, I have the benefits. I need to get out there and use them. Yeah, that's why I chose Albania. Qualifications for a country I'm traveling or like I'm considering on going to. So I have certain criteria that I consider when I'm debating on whether I'm going to go to that destination or not. Not necessarily when it comes to states, because it's like I pretty much can consider states safe, hopefully. But when it comes to countries, the qualifications I have are: 1, is it safe for Americans to travel to? I always look these questions up on Google first and foremost. So like Afghanistan, I knew off rip. Like I didn't even have to ask that question on Google. In my head, I knew, no girl, we ain't going there, because I knew it wasn't safe for Americans to go to. Next question I ask is it safe for solo travelers, solo female travelers? I kind of asked both of them simultaneously. I know that I travel, you know, solo dolo, and if it's not somewhere where, you know, I can enjoy myself and just, you know, thrive and enjoy my experience, then that's just not the place for me, and that's just something I'm gonna have to miss out on, at least now. Maybe when I have a traveling partner, I can actually go to that destination, but for now, it's just me. So yeah, it has to be somewhere that is safe for me to travel to as a solo traveler. The next question I ask is it safe for me to travel to as a black person? That is so quintessential, okay guys, because I don't want to go somewhere and I done read the Susie Q and Lucy 2, done traveled there and they had a grand old time, and I get there and they looking at me like they're gonna stone me to death because they ain't seen a black person at all. Like, we just not about to do that. So I always look up those specific criteria before I ever think about traveling somewhere. And I did the same thing for Albania. Planning my itinerary. So I'm super itinerary based. My itinerary is kind of funny because I fly standby because of my benefits. I don't book anything in advance, but I plan my itinerary so that once I get to my destination, I won't just be sitting around trying to figure out like what I want to do. I'll have lists of stuff to do. I think that's super important. Whether you use standby or not, don't wait until you get somewhere to try to plan stuff. Like, already have stuff planned out. Maybe that's just the itinerary girly speaking in me. To plan my itineraries, I use TikTok, Yelp, Google Maps, TripAdvisor, Expedia, and YouTube. I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory. I don't feel like I really have to get into that. If you're a person that doesn't like to plan itineraries, you can always come to me. I am a travel agent. Had to throw that in there. I am a travel agent and I specialize in solo travel. So if you are thinking about dipping your toes into solo travel, or if you're an avid solo traveler and you're looking for someone who does plan trips for solo travelers, I'm your girl. So when it came to my Albania itinerary, I have had this itinerary planned since pretty much I traveled to Alaska. It's so hilarious because I always end up planning my itinerary like either nearing the end of my trip that I'm on, like in the middle of my trip that I'm on, or like right after my trip. I just love traveling that freaking much, y'all. What I didn't factor into the equation was the time that it would take to actually get to Albania, which technically wouldn't have been a problem, but I had my schedule to factor into the equation. So I originally was going to go to 4 different cities, but the time frame that I had to work with was only a week. I like to get back into town at least 1 or 2 days in advance so that I can have time to rest before I start another work trip. And so when it came to this particular trip, once I finally looked at tickets going to Albania, I realized that it was going to take me 2 freaking days just to get to Albania, just to get there. That's not exploring, that's not checking into my hotel, nothing, just to get to Albania. And I'm like, oh crap, like that changes my whole itinerary because I only have a week to work with. Looking back, yes, I could have added in the other city. I could have went with my original itinerary, but I would have been stressed the entire time. Like, am I going to make it? That thought would have always been in the back of my mind. So I think it's good that I just changed my itinerary around and only did the 3 cities. Plus, it was a lot of moving around and I was exhausted pretty much for like a week following my trip. So I think it's good that I only did the 3 cities anyways. And then of course, planning your itinerary, just be cognizant of time change. So the time change was crazy. That was something I hadn't really planned for per se. It would be like 8 o'clock or like 11 o'clock in Albania, and it would be like 10 a.m. here in the States where I live. And so that was like kind of crazy, and it was like weird with my sleep schedule, and it really did impact my, like me just being super jet lagged and exhausted when I came back home. So that's just all things that you have to consider when you're like planning your itinerary and things of that nature. So when it came to transportation, that's something that they don't talk about a lot. So I feel like a lot of people try to touch on the subject, but it's so hard to like fully understand the scope of their transportation system because it's so vague and it's confusing until you get there and you experience it. So I'm going to try to explain it with as much as I can give on the topic. So when you first fly into Tirana, which is the main airport, there are buses. There's going to be a line of taxis. You'll leave out the KFC and there'll be a line of taxis. You can take those taxis or you can pass by all the taxis and there will be buses. All of those buses are going to go to the Tirana bus station. I recommend, well, it depends on where you're going. There were also like 2 other buses. There was a bus to like Samil and somewhere else. But I just hopped on the Tirana bus, the Tirana bus going to the station because I wasn't going to Samil or the other place that they had. So you get on the bus headed to the Tirana bus station, and they say that they have times that they leave. Disregard everything that you hear about that. What they do is they wait until the bus fills up and then they leave. So don't be working on a schedule when you're dealing with the buses. If you have somewhere to be at a certain time, you're going to have to just pay extra and take a taxi. I'm letting you know now. Or try to figure out a system with a more like a private shuttle. They do have those as well. They have places like little booths across from the taxis where you can talk to people there, and they'll most likely have like more of a private shuttle. So you take the bus to the Tirana bus station, but it doesn't drop you off at the station. That's what threw me for a loop. And when I was dropped off, it was just me that was dropped off. Mind you, there's a language barrier. So they drop you off on this street, and it's just like a bunch of stores, and it's a street. And so from that street, you have to go left. If you're facing the highway bridge, go left. Walk under the bridge. You're going to pass by a gas station, and then there will be the bus station with all of the buses. So with the bus station, the buses will have cards, and I don't know if I still have any of the clips, but I might have like a picture or something of it. But the buses will have a card of where they're going. So it'll say like Saranda, Samil, Bharat, whatever. That will be your bus. Now, the buses, again, they have like approximate times on when they leave, but majority of the time they just leave whenever they feel like it, to be honest. Also, if you have trouble finding your bus, which I did, you'll just tell the people, like, don't try to converse with them unless you know the language, because they'll just kind of look at you. You can also use Google Translate, which I'll get into that later. But you can just tell them what city you're going to, and they'll understand the city. So I was just like, Jaracaster. I was like, Jaracaster, and they knew exactly what I was talking about, so they took me to the bus. Y'all, when I pulled up to that bus, okay, so it kind of pissed me off because I literally just missed the bus to Jaracaster. The coach bus, the big bus that was nice. It probably had AC. It had roomy seats. Just missed that bus. So they pulled me up to this other bus because the next big coach bus didn't come for like another 3 hours. And that would push me back immensely. This other bus was this tiny bus. The seats were smaller than an airline seat. Take like a regular like economy airline seat and take that space like divided by half. I was like, what the? And the drive, if it was like an hour drive, maybe I would have just been like, suck it up, just do it. Y'all, it was a 3-hour ride to Jaracaster. I refused to ride, and like, it was literally like my knees would have been in the other seat. Literally, I'm not exaggerating. And so I was just like, but I didn't feel like waiting for the other bus to come. So I was just like, okay, well, can I get a taxi? So I think they were trying to scam me because I didn't speak the language and I was a tourist. I asked him what the price was, and he was like, he told me a price. I think he said 1,200 lek. 1,200 lek is $12. And I'm like, are you sure? Because any other video that I had seen, they had said that it was going to be like 1,200, they said it was going to be like 800 or whatever, the equivalent to $80 in $60 to $80 in US dollars, but in lek. And so I'm expecting to be in that price range, and I'm like, well, that doesn't sound right. And I was like, are you sure that this is the price? He was quoting me 1200 lek, and I'm like, that doesn't sound right. And so I even typed it into my phone, like, is this what you're talking about? He's like, yeah. Okay. So I get in the taxi and I see this number running, and I'm like, is that my fare? And he was like, no, that's just like the kilometerage, the mileage, but like the kilometerage. I was like, okay. And so he was like, this is your price. Tell me why he had a whole nother zero on there. So instead of being 1200 lek, it was now 12,000 lek. So instead of being $12, it's now $120. And I'm like, hold on, that's not the price we agreed on. And it could have been a language barrier, but I also felt like it was just a scam, you know? I ended up having to stop at the ATM again. If you're staying in like hotels or Airbnbs, and you're trying to find like taxis and stuff like that, talk to them about getting a taxi and they will help set you up. That was really how I got some of my transportation. Like if I needed a ride to a bus station, they helped me get there. So going hand in hand with that point is be in contact with your staying arrangements. So I was in contact with my hotels and my Airbnb through like WhatsApp and stuff like that. It is so beneficial. Like I said, if you need any accommodations, if something doesn't go right, if you need a taxi, any of the nature. I ended up being like super uncomfortable in my taxi at one point, and I told the girl at the front desk of my hotel, and she came, because at this point I was like pulling up to my hotel area space, and so she came and she waited outside for me, and like she was so sweet. Talk to your phone company before leaving the States. So if you have Verizon, I have Verizon. Basically, they do where if you're going to outside of Mexico, the Bahamas or the United States, then for $10 for 24 hours, that's basically what it is if you're off of the internet. So that's basically like, it would tell me every day, like, hey, your something pass, it's called travel pass or something like that, expires at this time, which it was 24 hours from that exact time, and it would just reset every day, and it charged me just $10, which I think is a pretty fair thing. And if I wasn't on internet, I could still talk, text, access my data and all of that stuff. So that was really nice to have. Google Maps and Google Translate were like my rock when I was traveling in Albania. Google Maps really, like when it came to, it's like Apple Maps. It was a very walkative place. So like, I really only used taxis and buses to get from city to city, like the really long haul. But when it came to like going to restaurants and stuff, or like going to experiences, I walked. And to get me from point A to point B, I just used Google Maps. They literally like gave me great directions and everything, and it was flawless. Like I didn't have any issues getting to a destination using Google Maps outside the country, even off my data. It was amazing. And then Google Translate. So I told you guys I don't speak the language. Apple Translate does not have Albanian, but Google Translate does. So there were certain times where I would have to like type what I wanted to say in there, and then there were some times where they were speaking into my phone, and then I was able to translate that into the Google, translate that into English. There was only one time this guy was trying to talk to me, and I think he was just talking nonsense, honestly. Because whatever he was saying didn't make sense. And even my Google Translate was like, what is you talking about? When I went to the castle to do the self-guided tour, they have this feature on the Google Translate where you can take a picture of something and it'll translate it. So you'll tell them, like, I want to translate this from this language to this language. You'll take a picture of it, and oh my gosh, y'all, it was actually kind of fun. Like, they only had signs in Albanian, but I took a picture and I translated it, and I was able to literally go through the tour by myself and just, like, you know, read the stuff. And it was talking about, like, what are those things called where you put the balls and the cannons? Like, it was just talking about stuff like that and the war and all types of stuff like that in the castle. And Google Translate did that. I'll put, like, some pictures of things that it translated for me. Yeah. I recommend that you get the LEC. Somebody said that get it at an ATM outside of the airport because it's like less fees. I didn't get my money in the airport because that's what I heard. Would it have been less of a headache? Maybe. But like once you get like into like the city and stuff, there's ATMs here and there. So it was kind of like, you know, stressful. Like, will I be able to find an ATM? Will I not? It also was stressful before I went to the country. Like, I don't have the currency. Are they going to take euros? So they also take euros. So I was like, let me just get a couple of euros before I leave so that I'm a little bit prepared. So when I got on my first bus, actually my first couple of transportation things, my bus and my taxi, I used euros. I would say don't freak out. If you know that you're going to freak out, just get your currency at the airport. They don't service LEC, the Albanian LEC. At least they don't in Colorado. I checked everywhere. I went to Cherry Creek. I checked the airport. They don't service it. I checked all these different banks. They don't service it. It was easier to pay in LECs. I will say that. I much rather preferred paying in LECs, but at least I had the extra coverage of euros. Safety. So I actually felt like 100% safe. I walked around a lot. I didn't feel like any of the people were like weird. Yeah, I didn't feel like any of the people were weird or like I just didn't feel like unsafe there. Like, I just felt like it was a really safe place. Even the night before I left, I ended up oversleeping and I needed to throw my trash away in my Airbnb, and it was nighttime. And I was like, girl, just wait until your guy comes. But I was like, no, just go and throw your trash away. I also wanted to get gelato. I wanted to taste the gelato. And so I went out. It wasn't like super, super late because a lot of the shops were still open, but it was like nighttime. The sun went down. So I went out. I felt so safe. Like, kids were still playing outside. I don't know, but I felt super, super safe. There were still like some shops open. There were still people out eating and like walking around. Maybe it was just like the area that I stayed in, but every city that I went to, there was even so Saranda kind of reminded me of like Slumdog Millionaire. I think I already said that, but I ended up walking 30 minutes from, where was I at? Oh, the beach club to my hotel. And I felt like that area was really sketchy, like really, really sketchy. There was this one guy, I don't know if he was homeless or what the case was. And it was kind of seemed like he was like following me, but like from the front. And I was like, I feel a little uncomfortable. But that was like the only instance that I felt uncomfortable. And at this time, it had gotten dark. But I made it to my hotel room safely and everything like that. So yeah, I walked everywhere. I felt completely safe. City hopping. City hopping was so much fun. I recommend like that over just staying at a resort. The city hopping, it was like you got a taste of like so many different aspects of Albania. Like, what was it? Jarcaster was like the stony historical, like, experience. It was just so like so set back in time. It was so interesting and like so refreshing, and it was unheard of. I've never experienced anything like that. It was so interesting. And then you go to Saranda and it's like LA mixed with Slumdog Millionaire. It's like I've never experienced anything like that either. It was one of a kind. And then you go to Tirana and it's like kind of like a New York City kind of. And so every city had their own like thing going on, and it was just really, really interesting to see all that going on. So I definitely recommend city hopping instead of just staying in one city, even for a day. I like that I just spent one day in each city. I think I would have got bored staying in a city for too long. Next is Friendliness. As a Black solo female traveler, as a black solo female traveler, they are not all that friendly. All the videos that I watched saying that they were super friendly. Now I will say there were probably like 3 or 4 people that were super, super friendly to me. And then there were people that were just like, you know, going about their business, regular everyday people. But I felt like there were a decent amount of people that were just kind of rude. And I felt like they were that way because I was Black. And I'm just going to let the sheep out the bag. I felt like they were like that because I was Black. I feel like had I have been a non-Black solo traveler that did not know the language, they would have been more patient with me. That's just my opinion, and that's how I feel about it all. I feel like there were so many people that said like they just really hyped up the friendliness of Albania, and I will admit like there were a couple of people that I dealt with that were just like so selfless, so friendly, like they were the nicest people I've ever met in my entire life, and I probably would not meet anybody as nice as them ever. But then there were just some people that were just like wow, you know? And yeah, so I don't think the friendliness is as much as I don't think that, I'm not like trying to make it out to be like they were super, super rude. One person was super, super rude. But I think that when it comes to being Black and a solo traveler and just like a language barrier, they have less of a tolerance and less patience as if I were not Black, if you know what I'm saying. Lastly is luggage. So your girl did her big one. I fit so many outfits. Y'all saw the fits. I fit so many outfits. All my stuff for content, my makeup, my beauty stuff, in a backpack and my carry-on luggage. I am so proud of myself. And I honestly am more proud of myself because of the fact that I was city hopping and doing all that moving around. I wish that I would have been able to only bring my backpack, but that was so unrealistic. I was like, girl, that's not going to work. And really, when I started packing, I was like, girl, this is not going to work. Like, I literally just brought my suitcase. I was like, yeah, this ain't going to work. Yeah, if you're going to do like city hopping, I would definitely say like pack lighter than you normally would. I think the interesting thing about Albania is the cities like are so spread out. Albania is huge. But like Arizona, the cities are like, oh, one city's like 20, 30 minutes. Another city's like 15 minutes. So yeah. But that was my experience as a Black female solo traveler in Albania. If you are looking into going to Albania, please feel free to ask me any questions that you have. I hope I covered some of the things in this video. I hope this wasn't boring, and I hope this was informative and entertaining. But make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and tell a friend to tell a friend that Makayla does fashion and travel videos and that they should watch my content. That's the best place on earth. So I'll talk to you guys later, and bye.
To make the people say yeah, yeah.